Okay, so as part of our discussions regarding consumer behavior, today we are going to discuss issues to do what is called the consumer decision-making process. The consumer decision-making process, because we are saying that consumer behavior, in as much as we are studying consumer behavior, the behavior in which the consumers do or show goes through a certain process. Whenever they make their purchasing decisions, it is a process in which they go through. Whether they are purchasing their products online, they are purchasing their products in physical, traditional brick and mortar shops, there are some factors which influence their behavior, or there are certain stages in which they go through. So for you to now understand the behavior of a consumer, or for you to be in a position to go and influence a consumer, you need to have an appreciation now of the different stages in which a consumer goes through. Let's say you are hungry. You feel like you want to eat or you want to drink something. You may have some alternatives. Most probably you are at home. You may think that I may want to cook something. Or you may think that you want to go and buy chicken in. You want to go and buy Nando's. You might want to go and do a braai. Before you get to that decision, you may need to look for some more information regarding where can I actually get a very good meal. There are some factors which you may take into consideration: the issue of transport, the issue of the cost, the issue of convenience, up until you now decide that most probably you may need to cook, you may need to visit a food court. So these are the issues which we are going to discuss here. The different stages which will enable you to go and buy at a particular shop. What caused you to go and buy at Chicken Inn? What caused you to go and buy at Nando's? What caused you to go and buy at Chicken Slice? What caused you to go and do a braai with your friends? Because this is the behavior now which the consumer behavior, which is actually the basics or the major issue in our discussion throughout the course. And we are saying that buying and using goods and services occur as a result of consumer decision making. This is the reason why marketers need a systematic way to understand how and why consumers make decisions. Variables are the factors or elements that may change under certain circumstances. So we are saying that there are certain elements which can change, and we are saying these variables or these factors change from one place to another, or they change based on the environment. The decision which you make to go and purchase certain type of clothing, certain types of shoes, certain type of a perfume, certain type of a deal, certain type of food, it is determined by in the environment in which you are operating. Let's say you are at home. The decision to purchase certain clothes, the decision to purchase certain products can or may be determined by the environment in which you are operating at home. When you move from home to the university or to the campus, your decision to purchase certain products, certain clothing, certain food may be determined by the environment which is at the college, to such an extent that we can safely say that the environment in which you are operating really affect consumer behavior or your decision making process. Consumers are confronted daily on different aspects of lives. They need to choose between various brands of products. And consumer decision making is seen as a problem solving activity. Is seen as a problem solving activity. Because we are saying it's a problem solving activity, because we are saying that you have got a need which you think it needs to be satisfied. You are thirsty. That is you want water. You may want a soft drink. You are hungry. You want food. You think that you no longer have very good clothes. So that is the problem which you are facing. And we are saying you now go through these different processes so that you solve a problem. Consumer daily decisions are influenced by two important factors, and these factors are going to dominate most of our discussions throughout the semester. We have got what is called the internal and what is called the external environment. The internal environment, which goes to do with the internal aspects or the internal issues of an individual, of a consumer or a customer, and the external environment, which is most probably the outside environment. Because we are saying there are some factors within an individual's cognition or within an individual's feelings which can influence consumer behavior. And we are saying there are some other external factors which are not within the consumer, which can also influence. So we are going to discuss these issues as we proceed. So these are the different variables or the different factors which may influence consumer behavior. We've got needs, we've got motives, we've got personality, we've got perception, we've got learning, we've got attitudes. The external environment, we have got the cultural influences, social influences, reference groups, family influence, economic demand influence, business and marketing influences. So these are the two important categories which we are going to discuss and try to understand how these different issues have an influence in consumer behavior. Your needs, your motives, your personality, your perceptions, your learning, your attitudes, your cultural influences. This brings us to the fact that as marketers now, we need to segment our markets. We need to do target marketing. We need to do target marketing. Why? Because the needs, the motives, the personality, the reference group, the social influence, they differ from one place to the other. They differ from one individual to the other. So our understanding now of these different issues, or our understanding of consumer behavior, will enable marketers to have what we call a marketing strategy, to have a segmentation strategy to suit certain needs of certain individuals. Gone are the days where organizations used to do what we call mass production. They produce their products because they know that the consumers will buy. Customers do have different needs, different personalities, different perceptions, different attitudes, different learning levels, and their consumption behavior is different, or it's unique from one place or from one individual to the other. So you really need to take that into consideration. Do you have any questions, additions, subtractions before we proceed? Hello?
Sir, will you please record the meeting?
I'm recording.
Alright, thank you, sir.
Okay. Any issues? Any questions? Okay. Is that a question?
No, sir.
Consumers act around a psychological field which determines how they act at a particular situation. The psychological field is composed of individual and environmental variables. The consumer buying situation is a pattern of choice possibility within a given context. The past experience, future expectations might influence the choice outcome in a purchase situation. Despite the force coming from different variables, consumers still have a final decision on using or not using the information. Before a consumer makes a purchase decision, we are saying that there are a number of factors which determines how a consumer acts. So consumers will be faced now with a number of, whenever you have got a need, you are faced with a number of brands. You want to buy a car, you are faced with a number of cars, but you need now to make a decision to go and purchase the right car, the right product. You have got a problem. And we are saying your past experience, your future expectations can affect the way in which you make a purchasing decision. Let's talk about past experience and future expectations. Can we discuss when we are saying your past experience can affect your decision to purchase a certain product? What do we mean? What do we mean if we are saying your past experience can affect your behavior? Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to say that, for example, if you have been using an iTel phone and the internet was bad or the network kept on cutting, when you're next going to buy a phone, you're not going to consider ITEL phone because of the past experience.
Why did you choose ITEL?
I had an ITEL a couple of months back, which is why I know for a fact I won't buy one again.
Okay, all right. Any addition? How a past experience may influence consumer behavior? Rufaro?
Yes, sir.
Can you give us your contribution? Penlope, you are the next.
My brother purchased iPhone 8, and from the way people describing it, he assumed that it would perform better than expected, right? But the conclusion was that it's overrated. Because one, in terms of the battery life, petrol needed to be charged after every 3-4 hours. So in the future, I don't think he's going to purchase an iPhone ever again.
He purchased an iPhone.
Yes, an iPhone 8.
Okay. I was discussing with my sister about people who use iPhone or Apple products. So we were saying that even up to now I suspect that the iPhone and whatever Apple products, they are overrated in terms of the experience, the customer experience. I remember I used to have a student who wanted to do a presentation and he failed to do the presentation because it's not user friendly. I remember also having my sister having that same phone and he could not do other functions, but they still say it's one of the best brands. So that is the past experience which we are talking about. Penlope, what do you have on past experience?
So I once went to a certain restaurant, I won't mention the name, but when I actually got there, the food didn't taste as good as other people said it did. So because of that, I actually never went back to that place.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it appears you are following what we are discussing. The issues to do with the past experience is very important in understanding consumer behavior. Because when you buy a product, what's the issue we are very much focused as marketers is issues to do with an experience. People, there is this saying amongst marketers that people buy an experience. People buy an experience. They don't necessarily buy a product, but they want to buy an experience which is pleasurable. Once the experience is not pleasurable, the consumers will always go and look for alternatives. The consumers will also go and talk bad about your product. You remember we talked about the issues to do with the brand hate. They always go and spread. You understand now, with the coming in of technology, information, customers are in a position to share their experiences online. When they share their experiences online, just imagine you are sharing your experience, you are on a WhatsApp group with 250 consumers, and you are sharing your experience about consumption of a certain product, consumption which you did at a certain restaurant. There is this aspect of the viral effect. So the past experience is very, very important. And that is the reason why in any organization there is need to have online reviews, suggestion boxes, online customer complaints desks, where consumers can come and share their experiences. Research is showing that when a consumer, before a consumer goes to purchase a product, he or she goes and looks for reviews online. And when the reviews are bad, it is most likely that the consumer will not purchase that product. I understand that you have got smartphones. You may have a Samsung. If you have got a Samsung, if you go to Samsung Play Store, you want to most probably to download a certain application. Under that application, there are reviews where people are commenting about the performance of every application which is on Play Store. As for me, I'm using Huawei, so I also go to App Gallery or Arola Store and look for the reviews before I download any application. If you go to Alibaba, you go online, you want to purchase a product online, you need, even if you go to Facebook, you go and look for the comments which are being put by other consumers. The consumers who do have a past experience. So if you see that the reviews on your platform are negative, the probability of not buying that product is important. How is that important now to a marketer? Contemporary marketer needs to go now online, understand what the consumers are saying about their products, read the reviews, respond to customer feedbacks, improve on your product. This is to do with the past experience. Let's talk about your future expectations. You are expecting to get married. You are expecting to finish your degree. Influences the way in which you are going, your purchasing behavior. You have been at Africa University for your past 4 years. You are now getting to your 4th year. You are finishing. The goods which you purchased when you were in most probably you are 1-1, they are now different from the goods in which you are purchasing now. So these are the future expectations. Your plans for tomorrow determine the way in which most probably you will be now starting most probably to save some money, because you know that once you finish your university, you may need now to go to look for employment. You may want to go and most probably do your masters. What are the basics which you need to buy? So these are the future expectations. Your plans influence what you purchase today, influence your behavior which you do on daily basis, influence your purchasing decision. And we are saying, despite these variables, a consumer has got the final decisions based on the information which you get from different people, from different scenarios. You are supposed to come up with the right decision using the different information which we have. So, as a marketer, you need to make sure that your product which is online, because given the scenarios in which we are having and the rate in which technology is moving, marketers need to use, or not marketers only, organizations need to use to go online. It reminds me of a certain scholar who said that in the next 10 or 20 years, the traditional brick and mortar stores or shops will not be in existence. So it's better now to adopt and adapt to the changing environment. Adopt technology, adapt to the changing environment. Because the future, we are now talking of Industry 4.0. So the future is very much influenced with, the future is very much determined by the environment in which we operate. Just one. Need recognition occurs when consumers are faced with an imbalance between actual and desired states. Need recognition occurs when there is an imbalance between actual and desired states. There is something which you want, and you realize that you need something. There is a need. You are recognizing that you need to go and buy something, so that you move from the actual state which you have to a desired state, which is the experience. And we are saying that the need recognition can be triggered by an internal or an external stimuli. Internal, which is within you, external, or the environment in which you are operating, which is external, can trigger a certain need. Most probably it's because of the church in which you are going. Most probably because of certain cultural differences. You know, the aspect of culture is very important in marketing. Because you need now to remember, with the coming in of technology, the coming in of the internet, you are selling to the global world, the global village. But the global village is not standardized or is not uniform. We have very different cultural narratives from one country to another. So we are saying these needs can be influenced by certain cultural differences. So your consumption can be influenced. Let's say you have decided to come and work here in the Middle East and you are a lady. You need to conform to the cultural differences. Your purchasing behavior will be influenced by an external stimuli, which is you are supposed to leave whatever the dressing which the trousers, the whatever, those types of clothing which we wear in Africa. And so we are saying your behavior is being influenced by in the environment in which you are operating. That is an external. Internal. Your perceptions or your feelings, you just feel that you need something which is in line with fashion. So all those things, they can trigger a need. And we are saying at this stage, a marketer needs to do some research on consumer to identify the factors that most often trigger interest to the product. What triggers a need, a consumer to recognize a need? That is the purpose of the marketer. What are the marketers now doing so that they are in a position to manipulate, not manipulate per se, so that they are in a position to capture the brains of the customers in need recognition? of late in Europe, they are engaged in some experiments in which they are analyzing the brains of the consumers using what we call it the brain scan, MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, whereby they study the brains of the consumer so that they understand which part of the brain or which color or which products trigger the need. So it's now from the lab to design. So the colors which they use when they are analyzing, when they are developing a packaging, they are based from experiments, from research. So whenever you see an advert, either it's on a billboard, it's on the TV, your brain will be activated to go and purchase. If it's food, the brain will be activated to go and purchase a certain product. So as marketers, we need to know now what triggers the need within the brain of the customers. Any questions?
No, sir, not from me.
Okay. Consumers buy products when they believe that the benefits of buying it outweighs not buying it. The need recognition is sometimes called problem recognition. Consumers are sometimes willing to sacrifice some of their desires to buy affordable products that meet their needs. I think this is clear. Consumers make a sacrifice so that they go and purchase a certain product. Your product as a marketer needs to be outstanding. A number of internal and external stimuli may activate the need and want and recognition of them. Some consumers may not be aware of the need or want. So we are saying that consumers need to be reminded of our existence. They may not be aware that a certain product exists, so they need to be reminded. How do we remind them? You use adverts, sales promotions, packaging to trigger the need. That is the reason why you realize that if you are using the traditional media, the radio, the television, companies usually advertise their products during peak hours, during news hour, during soccer, where they know that a lot of people will be focusing on the television. They want to create the awareness. They want to fly there. And that is the reason why if you want to advertise your product during that time, it's expensive. It is actually called the peak hour. Because you actually know that most probably 1 million viewers around the world are watching a certain game. Or a certain event on the television. If it's Man United game, the prices may be higher. But if it's Arsenal, the prices may be, the number of people who view may be low because of its poor performance. So marketers need to take that into consideration. The speed of consumer recognition can be slow or rapid depending on the consumer and the way in which the need is triggered. So here comes another aspect now of most probably repeating. That's the reason why you see that adverts are usually repeated. When you are in the internet, the usual adverts, they pop up. They want you to remind. It's a reminder that a certain product exists. The buyer, if continuing with decision process, searches for information about the product he or she wants, thinks will solve the problem. I've talked about this. Internal search involves searching their memory for information about the product. External search happens when the internal memory fails to get enough information pertaining the product. So we are saying that the information should be available, both internal and external. Marketers need to come up with the product. We need to come up with information about the product, so that whenever customers search for information, they will definitely get something. They will definitely get the information, because remember, the consumers or the customers are always comparing these different brands. Marketers need to know that repetition of an advert helps quick customer information. Repetition, not repetition. Repetition of an advert helps keep customer information search. Repetition of an advert helps to keep customer information search. If you always repeat an advert, it is very, very important that it will help the customers when they search for information. They always remember that there is a product. First, assume that each consumer sees a product as a bundle of product attributes. Second, the consumer will attach different degrees of importance to different attributes according to his or her unique needs and wants. A consumer will now make comparisons. Before purchasing a product, a consumer will make different comparisons, comparing the different attributes he or she gets from a certain product. And you also need to take into consideration that a consumer do have their own unique needs. And marketers now need to know how best can a consumer evaluate. Your product needs to be unique. Your product needs to be different from others. What are the attributes which your product do have when compared to the other products? The issue of developing what we call a brand belief. What are the beliefs about your brand as compared to other brands? Are your attributes outstanding? The levels of satisfaction or the level of experience, is it different from the other products? And we are saying that it is the attitude which is developed which enables a consumer to purchase certain products. You need to be in a position to shape now these attitudes so that they are in line with your expectations. The consumers evaluate based on what he or she learned. The consumer seeks answers to the questions. What are the options? Which is the best? Consumers use pre-existing and new evaluations stored in memory to select products or services. We have talked about this. Consumers often monitor attributes such as quantity, size, quality, and price. So you need to make sure that your marketing mix is in line with the customer expectations. Purchase decisions. Purchasing decisions. There are two factors that can influence the purchase decision: attitude from others and unexpected situational factors. Your purchase decisions can be influenced by the attitude from others. Others may discourage you to consume that certain product because of their different experiences or unexpected situational factors. Maybe when you want to purchase the product, you realize that most probably the price is now up. You realize that the product is not even looking good. That can affect your purchase decisions. And before making a purchase decision, a customer can go back and try to most probably evaluate the information or the alternatives before you make a purchase decision. That is where you see when it's in a shop, a customer can go take a product and return it, or can take a product into the trolley and at the end return it back to the shelf. Because the customer is evaluating the alternatives when he or she wants to purchase the products. The customer compares one retailer to the other. There is always comparison of the product, comparison of the price, different comparisons of the attributes. So you need to make sure that your product stands out of the other products within the market. Consumers tend to make risk minimizing decisions based on perceived definition of a particular purchase. The perception of risk is based on possible consequences or uncertainties involved. The possible consequences are the consequences favorable or unfavorable. The uncertainties after you purchase the product can also influence the purchase decisions. Consequences may be economic loss, embarrassment, or actual physical harm. You can purchase a product and you feel embarrassed with that product. Your friends may discourage you and you feel that encouragement. You feel that you were cheated. Most probably the product which you are now having, you have got an economic loss. It's not worth. Or physical harm. The product may have physical harm to you. So these are important factors you need to take note of. Consumption is the process where consumers take further action after purchase based on their satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Whether the consumer satisfied with the product are based on how the consumer expectations met the product performance. Another important aspect which you need to note, the issue of product performance. Your product needs to perform better than the other products. Customers need to be satisfied. That is the reason why we are always trying to create message, create product, rebrand and whatever, so that we create satisfaction. Marketers believe that if consumption is done and the need is fulfilled, the probability of that consumer coming back to purchase is high. Not only marketers believe that, but the research showed that customers who are satisfied usually come back and they usually refer other customers. They usually share their experience with other customers. The customer makes comparison to see if the actual performance meets the expected levels. And there is supposed to be a balance. When the actual performance is different from the expected levels, it will create a dissatisfaction. People will go for other alternatives, will go for other products. The level of satisfaction will determine if a consumer will make a complaint or communicate with the possible consumers. Consumption can be done immediately or delayed. A consumer can buy the product today, most probably thinking that you will consume the product later. So you need to take note of that. Post-consumption evaluation. Consumer experience a sense of satisfaction or dissatisfaction. These two components are important because consumers keep their evaluation in memory. The most important aspect of satisfaction is consumption. The product may be good, but how the consumer uses the product is important. The product may be very good, but how the consumer uses the product is important because it will now determine the level of satisfaction or the levels of dissatisfaction. And as marketers, we are very much worried with satisfaction. We are very much worried with satisfaction. We need to create good memories in the brains of our consumers, of our customers. We need to create a good experience. Consumers ask, did I consider the alternative? If I made a good decision, could I have done better? This type of questioning is called the post-purchase regret or cognitive dissonance. Marketers need to be in a position to understand this cognitive dissonance or the post-purchase regret. So that if they need to, in fact, marketers need to listen now to the consumers after they have purchased the product. Successful firms use toll-free numbers to answer questions, provide hang tags into brochures for commercial consumer referral. And we are saying these different tactics provides comfort to the customer. Post-purchase dissonance theory said that there is often lack of consistency or harmony, and individuals among various cognitions or attitudes and beliefs after the decision is made. Understanding dissonance is important to marketers because it allows them to reasonably predict such a person for highly receptive advertising and sales promotion. Understanding these levels of dissonance is very, very important. To reduce dissonance, customers can justify their decisions, they can seek for new information, they can avoid contradicting information, or they can return the product. So that a customer needs to move now from cognitive dissonance to a satisfied customer. We are very much concerned about satisfaction. Marketers can what can marketers do to reduce cognitive dissonance? Effective communication, send post-purchase thank you or letter, display products priority in adverts, and offer guarantees. All these things are done so that you reduce the level of cognitive dissonance. Divestment. Consumers have several options that include outright disposal, recycling, or remarketing. Consumers may need to dispose the packaging and product literature as well as the product itself. Sustainable marketing calls for recycling, environmental concerns play an important role in consumer divestment method. You need to take into consideration the disposal. And some organizations may offer little cash as an opportunity for divestment. Like what these companies which are involved in liquor stores. When you return the empty bottles and whatever, they give you some money. You can actually go and sell. So this is another part where we are saying you also need to focus on the disposal of your product after consumption. Let's discuss any questions, any issues, additions, subtraction before you get into another item. Any questions?